women are apparently liberated in many ways, but in fact and in practice they're not. They're still discriminated against.
Well, the main demand, of course, is equal rights to have a job, to have respect.
For too long, women have not been heard or believed if they dared to speak their truth to the power of those men. But their time is up.
Justice is not a concept we read about in a book. Justice is about the water we drink. Justice is about the air we breathe. Justice is about how easy it is to vote. Justice is about how much ladies get paid.
I think the time has come when women have got to find self-respect and a full identity of their own.
Through the course of women's history, women have gone through so many challenges and obstacles just to fight for women's rights and justice. It is important that we remember those women who have made a difference in our history, but also remember the women who haven't really been recognized as much for their hard work in changing our society and culture.
Ida B. Wells tends to be a forgotten woman who stood up for women's right to vote and the equal rights of Black people.
She was born into slavery in Mississippi, and unfortunately at a very young age, she lost both her parents and a brother due to yellow fever, which prompted her to become the caregiver of her remaining siblings. During this time, she also became a school teacher at Memphis, Tennessee, and she also became a journalist. She wrote a lot about racial injustice and violence that occurred in the South under the pen name Lola. Later on, she became the co-owner and editor of the Memphis Free Speech and Headlight newspaper.
In early 1892, after the lynchings of 3 Black grocery owners that she knew, Ida B. Wells began writing about the injustice in the South. Lynchings were not uncommon in the South and were often overlooked.
She then decided to launch an investigation to find some answers as to what were the causes of these lynchings.
While sacrificing her life in order to acquire this information, she examined a variety of cases through police records, newspaper reports, and also interviewing people who had lost their loved ones in lynch mobs.
She was able to concur that the lynchings were brutal tactics used by white people in order to get control of Black people and also punish them for having their businesses compete against them.
Her findings shocked the nation and angered many in the South. As a result, her press was burned down and destroyed by a white mob. She was out of town at the time, but was threatened that if she ever returned to Memphis, they'd kill her.
So she traveled to New York and republished her findings in a pamphlet titled Southern Horrors, Lynch Laws in All Its Phases.
In 1895, she further built on Southern horrors with a longer piece named The Red Record. Her writing on the horrid lynchings and her public speeches got the attention of many worldwide.
Wells used her fame in order to spread her message. She traveled internationally and rallied against racial violence in hopes to setting an example for the U.S. government and public.
In the U.S., Wells didn't hesitate to confront power organizations, fight segregationist policies, or lead a delegation to the White House to protest against workplace discrimination.
Until Ida was into her late 50s, women were finally given the right to vote, except voting was only given to white women at the time. In Washington, D.C., there was a march for women's suffrage that Ida attended to. Whilst being there, she ignored the organizers' attempt to placate Southern bigotry by putting Black women in the back. So she then decided to march up at front next to the white women.
Wells was also a key in the civil rights movement. She continued with her anti-lynching campaign and participated in the founding of the NAACP. Wells was often seen as a bit of a radical for wanting to make everyone aware of the brutality in the South, while others thought it would be counterproductive to possible negotiations. Wells was often sidelined because of it.
Despite being pushed to the side, much of Wells's unwillingness to give up on her vision of justice actually helped shed a light to the weak points of several rights movements and ultimately made them stronger.
Ida B. Wells is just one of the underappreciated and forgotten women of the past who have altered history and our future. Today, we should remember her story and war against bigotry and oppression and use it to fuel the fires in our present fight against discrimination and abuse of power.